This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we're very fortunate tonight to have as our guest one of my favorite guys in state government, Representative Reed Ingram, who is one of the finest gentlemen in the state legislature. He's known for his ethics, and he's known as a good businessman too, a hard-working businessman. Those of you who know Reed and know this area of the state around the river region in Montgomery, I'll share this with you. He is the founder and owner of Sweet Creek Restaurant and Store there on 231, and one of his business interests. And he is a well-known, well-respected legislator here in the river region, and we're glad that he took time out of his very busy schedule to be with us tonight. Reed, good to see you.
Hey, thank you for having me, Steve. Appreciate it. It's an honor to be here.
He's a good man. He's been on this show a couple of times, and like I say, most of our viewing audience is in the river region and the wiregrass. And but Reed, he's got a good reputation here. He's born and raised. You born and raised here in Montgomery,
Yes, sir.
this
Yes,
area.
sir.
And now tell me this: before you were in the legislature, you were on the county commission, wasn't you?
I was, yes,
For
sir.
two terms.
3 terms.
Three
well,
terms.
Actually 2.5. I was there for 10 years.
What years?
So I went in 04 and came out in 14.
You never served with old Will Barfoot's brother, Uncle Joel, did you?
No, sir.
Is that
He
the
was in
seat you
same
took?
district. Same district. No, Lynn Gowan was between us.
Okay.
And so Lynn ran or was appointed by Sigelman. And then I fulfilled his term after that.
So Joel Barfoot was in that county commission seat. Then Lynn for a little while. Then you came in what year again now?
In 04.
04.
Yes, sir.
You know Will Barfoot and our county well, Ken.
I
Well,
tell you've got good blood running through
Well,
you then. He's a good man.
we both, our ancestors, see, my ancestors were from China Grove in North Pike County, and that's
Yes, sir.
basically in Montgomery County.
Oh, yes, sir.
Just juts up there. And so our ancestors intermarried. His people actually were born, his people roots are in Pike Road, and really Pike Road and China Grove almost right there next to each other.
That's right.
They're joined almost. Northern Pike County and Southern Montgomery County almost one and the same. And we knew when I first met Joel Barfoot, he said, "Flowers, we can." And it just dawned on me. I'd seen my family tree, and I'd seen one of the Grants there in China Grove, and Barfoots had married, and Will and I call each other cuz. I text him all the time. We'll text each other back and forth. You know, Pike Road's the fastest growing city in the state, and a town or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, they've got some great representation. There you represent them and live in Pike Road. You actually live in Pike Road.
Well, I actually live on the outskirts, but I'm trying to get in pretty soon.
And then Will's family's always been there in Pike.
That's right.
And Brubaker lived in Pike Road.
That's right. When we started Pike Road, we incorporated it, me and Wayne Rayburn and Charlene Rayburn.
He was talking about that.
Yeah,
He was on the show earlier.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
And so we incorporated it. I counted Gordon Stone's daughter, unborn daughter, as one of the populations. She was due any day. Was born 2 days
Is
after
that
we
right?
turned. Yeah, they had a name on it. So we had 314 people. We had to have 300.
Was that when you were on the county commission?
No, that was before. I ran unsuccessfully in '96.
So you were trying to help Rayburn's organize Pike Road as a town.
Well, we had my neighbor that's passed away now, Fred Etheridge. It was his idea. My next door neighbor. We were working on his bush hog. He said, "You ought to, while you're running for county commissioner, you ought to look at incorporating Pike Road." Well, I've been in Pike Road all my life, and we had the mayor there, Emory Farmer. We were talking about earlier. Good man. But he was trying to annex out, and see, Montgomery County was the only county in the state that had one municipality.
And
so
one school system.
That's right. So I just didn't think that was very healthy, and thought it was a pretty good idea that Fred had. So I called a couple of attorneys, and we were unsuccessful on that one. So we hired Doyle Fuller, which is my next door neighbor.
He lives out there. He was living out there then.
He does. And so we were able to get it done. So me and Doyle and Wayne Rayburn, me and Wayne got every petition signed.
Some of the original ones.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, it was a good thing, and a lot of people that are leaving the area instead of moving to Elmore County or Otago County or wherever, are choosing Pike Road and still shopping in Montgomery. So it kept the tax base there, I think.
Yeah.
It was healthy.
Reed, now you served on the county commission for 12 years?
10 years.
10 years, from '04 to 14.
Yes, sir.
So you went to the legislature in 14.
That's right.
Was it an open seat?
It was. Greg Wren had chose not to run again, and so I ran unopposed.
Well, do you get Wind Lakes?
I do. I have most of Wind Lakes, probably 2/3 of it. I have the first part, and it kind of splits the Wind Ridge, and on the southern part I don't have the southeastern part.
Well, tell our viewers what all you do have. You got
I've got
all of southern Montgomery County.
I've got all of Pike Road. I don't have all of southern county. It comes down 231. So a lot of that after you pass Trotman Road would be some of that is Thad McClammy, and then when you go further south it's Chris Sales. He's a good guy.
He actually comes into Montgomery.
Yes, sir. He does. Yes, sir. And then we have I go all the way back. I have all of Matthews. I have Pike Road. I have Cecil, and I have the eastern part of Montgomery. East Chase, and then I go over into Elmore County around Emerald Mountain.
Oh, you go up to Elmore
I
County?
do, and then I go up to in between Fort Toulouse and the casino, and then I shoot back over to Casada and Elmore and Millbrook and the lower ponds of the Lake Jordan.
Well, going back to that's a heck of a district.
It's a big district.
It
Yes,
really
sir.
is a
lot of ground.
district.
A lot of rural.
Yeah, it is. Now, let me ask you this question. Since you go up to Elmore County, how is this prison issue affecting you?
You know, I'm not real satisfied with the, you know, I think the governor is doing an amazing job. I would follow her anywhere. On this lease program, I'm really not convinced that that's the best answer. And I think that we ought to build the prisons on our property that we own, since all the infrastructure is there, and the water authority there has borrowed some money and done a bond issue, and I think that it would be better if we kept it where it is. There's a kind of a uproar about moving it into Tallahassee, next to Tallahassee, and so if the public doesn't want it there, let's put it back where it was. You know, we have 2,000 acres there in Elmore County that we can put it on, and so I'm not really.
That's a good point. I think she's got some problems with that issue that I'm not sure she's aware of, and not just in the House, but in the Senate. Because, you know, you take a lot of those people who come from rural areas, those prisons are a big part, they're a big employer in their district. You got a lot of prisons in Elmore County.
It is.
I
There
mean,
are. That's right.
A lot of historical prisons there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so Tallahassee not really excited about it.
The citizens aren't. The mayor wants it. I think most of the city council wants it, just for obvious reasons, because it'll kind of help boost their, you know, their, I don't want to say economic development, but it will help boost some of the stuff, you know, around there.
That's going, but she seems to think she's got the authority to do this without legislative action. I think that's rubbing a lot of people in the legislature wrong. I've actually had about a dozen state senators tell me that they are not happy with that situation at all. But if they've got to make sure the funding's there, you know, why can't they have some input into it? Is what the legislature
we built a new prison or new jail in Montgomery County, 30,000 million. I don't remember exactly how much, but the sheriff, which was D.T. Marshall, good man, he's passed on now, but he was convinced that it would save us in personnel and save money, and it didn't.
It did not?
No, sir, it did not.
Is that right? All the modern things did not save y'all money?
No, sir. No, sir. So, you know, it ended up costing more. We probably, when I left, probably 25% more employees than we were before we had that other
You had to have
bill.
more. That's the argument is if you get the modern prison, you ain't got to have the employees.
No, sir. If you're going to have it to build a jail and you're going to, or a prison to have more people, you know, you're still going to have, you know, you've got the better, you know, personnel, better visibility over way it's built, but still, you've got to have more people. If you're going to increase it 25 or 30%, doesn't mean you're going to be able to stay where you are.
Well, that's the first I've heard of that, because
Yes,
it just goes beyond people's thoughts that they got to have those.
Right. That's the selling point on doing this, you know, but it's not true at all. You know, I have not seen that happen at all. and we're 25% in 14 higher than we were when we moved in that jail in Montgomery County. So I just don't, you know, I don't think that's going to work for the state either. We've got to be able to do what the Justice Department has ordered. You know, we're under a court order, and the Justice Department here recently has sent another ruling down, you know, and what she does is not going to increase the population in the jails. It's not going to, when we close those, it's going to put us basically at the same population capacity. And so until we can increase that capacity, we're not doing anything on that side of the justice ruling, you know.
Have you had this summer discussion with other legislators?
I have, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, that's going to be, that could be a problem in the legislature this time. But you got a lot on your plate of this session, haven't you?
We do. You know, I think gambling's coming up, and I think, you know, we got to address the redistricting, and I think that's going to be in a special session in this one.
Could be, too, for Congress and legislature.
That's exactly right. So that's Chris Pringle handling that, as head of that, and that's got a lot on his plate. You know, and we've got, I think the goal is to handle the budgets as fast as we can, just because of the environment of what we're in now on COVID. And just in case we have a problem, we can at least get what we've got to get done, as you well know. And then we've got some other issues that are coming up. A lot of the bills that will be coming up on changing voter ID and some stuff like that, as far as I think what the Democrats are bringing.
Shoot, Reed, people don't realize this, how much time this particular thing takes, but local legislation has been sitting there for a year. Everybody's got to get their local bills passed.
That's right.
I mean, did you have any local bills y'all trying to pass?
I do, yes, sir. Well, in the county we do. The probate judge is bringing one to where you need to be, you know, a lawyer, which I think that's smart when you're making those kind of rulings, especially on mental health. And I think that ought to be a statewide bill. So I think we're going to possibly bring that as a statewide and a local bill, just in case the statewide doesn't pass.
You gonna handle that?
I am, yes, sir. And then Elmore County's got a couple of local bills, but you know, we hadn't heard anything out of the mayor of Stephen Reed. I've called him several times, and generally we meet by now. But I haven't heard anything out of the city as far as. You
would think they would need to have some little local bills they would need to pass.
I know. I've called him several times on just to, you know, tell him Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's, and hadn't heard anything out of him. So I don't know if he thinks he needs us, or you know, maybe he doesn't. I don't know.
But you got to have your legislators, because legislature controls the city government.
Yes, sir. It'd be nice to let them and keep them informed anyway, you know. But I hadn't heard anything on that. But yeah, we've got several local bills, and you're right. It's very important on the local bill. It is, and that's what we try to represent our people. But there's a lot of bad legislation that comes too, you know.
Oh yeah.
And we try to do our best to, and I think that's the reason. One of the reasons I ran. I think God put me there to kill a lot of bad bills, you know. And I don't mind getting up to the mic, but not making a fool of myself. But I'd like to stand my ground anyway.
Reed, what about the gambling issue? I thought that she did the right thing by saying, look, the day of just going after just a simple lottery, we may have missed that boat. And I don't know, you know, you may have religious reasons not to be for gaming, but the concept of that committee she put together, the people on that committee were some of the finest Alabamians I think have ever been around. There was Mike Watson, who's hell of a Methodist thing in the state, and
Todd Strange headed it up.
Todd Strange, Young Boozer.
Right.
I mean, Phil Rawls. I mean, you had
good
the best people on that thing, and I thought they came back with a very good plan.
I hadn't seen the plan. I've talked
to do something, a little casino, a little something here and there,
and increase the Indian. You know, I think that I have a lot of confidence in the committee and the leader, and I have a lot of confidence in the governor if she brings it. I've never voted for a gambling bill. I voted against every one of them. But I think the time has come, if it's a good bill, and I think all the bills in the past have been bad, especially the one that Bentley brought.
Yeah.
I think it's time to, on a good bill, to let the people vote. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you are hitting the nail right on the head. You're about where I would be if I was in the legislature now. And now as a non-member of the legislature, just a regular citizen, you know, I would probably never buy a lottery ticket. I just don't have an interest in it. I probably never would go to a casino. I don't have the mental acumen to understand how to use those machines.
Yeah.
I'm just not a gambler. I've got other vices, I'm sure, but gambling's not one of them. But I am just think it's almost ludicrous for us to send that money to Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, and Mississippi.
I agree.
And that's where I think most people in my age group that might be used to be morally saying I'm against gambling. Well, we're only one of 4 states that don't have it.
Right.
I mean, why would we just send our money to Florida?
Right. And we've been in the Bible Belt, and we still are, and some things you just kind of want to hold on to, and not give up on, like some of the abortion bills and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's time to look at it. We've had good leadership to get this bill, in a good form, and I think that, I'll read the bill, and I think it would probably be this year would probably more than likely to give the people the right to vote.
Really, that's all you're doing anyway.
That's right.
That's what your constituents and people around the state don't need to understand is you as a legislator aren't voting for the bill. You just vote and let your people vote on it.
But there's been a lot of bills, though, Steve, that have come through, like Bentley's lottery bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't get into picking it apart, but there was a lot of bad parts of that, on who's going to manage it and where the money's going to go,
Mm-hmm.
and taking, putting a lot of politics in it. And you don't want the people voting on a bad bill, because when it goes to vote, they don't understand what's in the bill. You can't put it all on the
That's good that you recognize that, and you're right. But this recommendation from this study group has been so. It clearly says we need a gambling commission to oversee this, and it's the way it's set up is probably pretty good. So that might not be a bad thing to let people vote on that.
That's the best committee on any since I've been in politics that's been put together with Todd and Young Boozer and Mike, and I mean it's been a really business group. It has a lot of common sense, and the governor did a good job of appointing that group.
Dr. Benjamin
that's right.
was on there.
Yeah.
It's just been and I bet you none of them are really gamblers.
No.
I think they're just business people or civic leaders who are just saying, what's rational?
That's right. And I've traveled with a couple of them, and I've never seen them gamble, but out of state, out of the country too.
They just I don't think they answer the gambling, but they don't want the state to lose that revenue.
That's right.
And it's pretty significant revenue. One of the things I saw in the study is they project, and this group is very conservative, 19,000 jobs are created by the casino aspect.
Tax-paying jobs.
And they're pretty high-paying jobs from what I can gather.
They are.
On that thing. That's not a bad thing. Speaking of that legislation on reapportionment, your district probably shouldn't change much if you want to run for re-election.
It shouldn't.
I
wouldn't
got
think it would
growth
change
about
much.
the same as
That's
the
right.
state.
I'll probably lose a little bit of Elmore County or a little bit of Pike Road, whichever one I probably would have to sacrifice, because Pike Road has grown so much.
You ought to keep Pike Road as your home.
Oh, that's my home. That's right. I'll keep it. And then Elmore County has grown a lot. So if anything, I would shrink from a little bit
Elmore.
on that side.
Yeah.
Or even on the Pike Road side, on the western side, come back in all the way back to, maybe stop at Taylor Road and on the Troy Highway.
I think congressionally, Montgomery has already been on the chopping block anyway. It's already divided congressionally. But most people don't realize that. Most people don't realize that Mike Rogers comes in and represents that part of.
That's right.
Most of
I
your
vote
people,
for Mike Rogers.
Most of your people are in Mike Rogers'
That's
district.
Right. That's right.
And I think he probably, that thing's going to change somewhat.
I think so. It's going to have to. They always wondered if Berry was not going to have, a district.
I know.
But I think I hadn't seen any of the numbers, just kind of hearing, I think we're in better shape than what we were. We had a lot more people.
I wrote about that this last week, that I think we may be on the cusp and we may miss that bullet. I hope we do, but otherwise it's going to be a tough, where do you cut it?
That's
and
right.
You can't cut Terry Sewell's district.
No.
That's where I was going with this thing. I think that her district is going to look almost like the entire state. I think she comes down and she's going to have to, because they've lost population to Black Belt.
Right.
Those rural Black Belt counties have lost where the population loss has been. And I think she comes through Birmingham, Tuscaloosa. I think she gets a good portion of Montgomery.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think she gets most of Montgomery, and they may carve out the Pike Road and East Montgomery Wind
Right.
Lakes out of there and put it in either the second or third.
I tell you, Barry Moore is going to do a tremendous job. I've served with him and sat right behind him, voted his machine when he was in meetings, and he's a good guy.
Yeah, I
He's a good
like
guy.
Barry. I saw him we were visiting one night not long ago, and he told me he and I kenned each other. He said, I've got Flowers family in that southern part of Pike County. I've always claimed kin to you. And I said, well, you kind of are, because we're all that, all kin in there. And he is a good guy.
Yeah.
He's like you. He's a businessman. He runs an honest business.
He does. He does.
He's done. I've seen by him being so close to my county, Pike County. He does some business there from Enterprise, and I've seen some of his business dealings in there. They speak volumes. It's sort of like the same reputation you've got, and you've been in business a long time around here, and that word spreads.
I appreciate it.
One thing I want to let our viewers know is old Reed has Sweet Creek store there on 231, and that's been the most popular. Tell our folks how you started that thing and everything.
Well, I tell you, I've been in the car business. Jack Ingram and my.
Are you still in that car business, any?
Well, no, I closed it down a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
Well, at the end of November, and we're just going to hit the pause button, open back up. It's hard to get cars now that COVID's here. Not very many people are trading in and not repoing, but.
So tell us about you bought the land from Bubba Trotman.
I bought the land from Bubba Trotman and bought 5 acres from him, and I said I was going to put up a produce market. He thought I was absolutely crazy, but the produce market kind of grew. We put a restaurant in, and decided to do the restaurant before we started construction. And then we bought 5 more acres from him, and then bought a little bit more from him, and so it just kept growing and growing and growing. We started with 11 employees when we opened the door to March the 28th, 2016, and now we've got about 62 employees. We generally run about 75 in the summertime.
Wow.
Yeah.
You get a lot of snowbirds coming.
We get a lot of snowbirds, a lot of people traveling, but I tell you, I'm really proud of my local people that have supported us all the way through, and we try to take care of them all year long. And,
is your store bigger or the restaurant bigger? Where's the bigger draw?
As far as as far as volume, we're about 50-50. In the wintertime, when there's not a whole lot of produce, we try to supplement with pecans and baked goods and stuff like that. In jar items, we do 64 different jams and jellies, and of about 180 different jar items with pickles and relishes and stuff like that.
Where do you get your stuff from? Is it all
So we do a lot of it in-house, and then we have a packing company in north of us, that does a lot of them. That's out of house because we just don't have the space.
How did you happen to know to get in that business? How did you happen to?
I didn't know anything about it. I've never worked in a restaurant, but if you remember Bob and Mary's in Snowden, that was my grandparents. And
you
a lot
mentioned
of
that
the
before.
yeah,
You told me that.
A lot of the
so
recipes.
you wanted to kind of
that.
do what they had done.
That's right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They helped raise you a little bit.
They
didn't
did. Yes, sir. Yes,
they were
sir.
your grandparents.
That was my grandparents.
I remember the first time you were on the show, we had a long conversation.
Bob
about
and Mary's. It was Bob and Mary Shepherd.
in Snowden.
That's right. Yes, sir. Right there on 331.
Yeah. Do you know, I had some Grant relatives that settled in Snowden.
Yeah.
They had they were part of that dairy there.
That's right. That's
Did you
right.
know that?
Loretta and and I can't think of his name. He passed away recently.
There were 4 Grant brothers. One of them settled in Snowden in southern Montgomery County, and one in China Grove in North Pike County, and one over in Barber in Clayton, and one in North Coffee County. And when I first ran for the legislature, I had part of Barber County. It was in my district. And I walked in that man, he had a store in downtown Clayton, and I could see those bushy eyebrows, and we both looked at each other and said, we kenned each other. I said, yeah, Flowers, I'm your relative.
Wow.
And Grant.
You're kin to everybody.
And the Grants, they were 4 of them over there. It helps a lot in politics.
Oh, yes, sir. It
you
does.
know how people want to tie you to somebody,
That's right. That's right.
But I do love our area of the state here. It's nothing but flat land and pine trees, but it's home.
Oh, it's home.
Uh-huh.
I traveled a little bit last week and ran into somebody in Arizona that we knew each other. And it's because I had the Roll Tide hat on, an Alabama hat on. He asked me, we started a conversation. But it's a smaller world than we think, you know.
It really is. You know, little things in politics, you got to watch what you say. Trump has got a legacy. He had a conservative legacy. When Arizona makes you think about that. But when I was watching election night results of primaries and general election, it dawned on me, he's got a legacy. I just did an interview with CBS 8. I'm on CBS 8, the political analyst for CBS 8, and here in Montgomery. But they were talking about the changes and everything, and I said, does Trump have a legacy? Yeah, he's got 3 Supreme Court appointments.
That's right.
And nobody has that much. I mean, he's got a legacy. But the other thing is, I think he lost Arizona for no reason for why he talked bad about John McCain.
I know.
Why he would do that, I just
know.
never, I mean, the man really was a war hero. I mean, you served
He
8
was.
years in a...
You know, it's a lot of things that
And he
Trump
was
did.
a very strong U.S. Senator for them for 20 years.
Yeah. And I'm conservative, I'm a Republican, but I just don't like a lot of the things that he handled. But what he did was some good policies, like, you know, what he did in Arizona, and the people that he appointed in the Supreme Court were premium people. And I tell you, it's just...
He got a legacy with those because they're young and they're conservative and they're going to be there for a while. Reed, I enjoy visiting with you so much, but our time's up.
I've enjoyed it. Thank
We
you
have
for
a
having
good
me.
time together, but I hate it goes by so fast. Folks, our guest tonight has been State Representative Reed Ingram from here in Montgomery, represents Pike Road and East Montgomery and part of Elmore County. He is a state legislator, former county commissioner, and owns the famous Sweet Creek Restaurant there on 231. And he's a good man, a good leader for our state. And we thank him for taking time out of his very busy schedule to be with us. And thank you, viewers, for watching. Hope you tune again next week for Alabama Politics.